Hi all, welcome to another video. This is one of the free PCs I received in a job lot from a customer. It's a Dell Dimension 2400. It's got an Intel Pentium 4 2.8 GHz Northwood socket 478 CPU, replacing the slightly lower power Pentium 4 that was in there already. It's got 1.5 gig of RAM. Maximum it takes is 2 gig. It's got an 80 gig IDE hard drive. It's got quite a low powered graphics card. It's an Nvidia Quadro MVS 280 with 64 meg of video memory. Now the slot is PCI 1 and those graphic cards are few and far between, so I've just left the one it came with in there. One of the major problems I had after installing Windows is the system would look like it was starting up and this video screen was blank. So I went into safe mode and I had to manually disable the onboard graphics which were being defaulted to. And once I did that, the video card was the default and it was all fine. Changing the BIOS setting to select the graphics card had no effect, so it's a strange problem that. Now, if you look in the specs, online it says 1 gig of RAM is the maximum, 2 gig is in reality, and I only had 1.5 gig available, so I'm using that. And what I'll do now is run a few benchmarks and report back on each one. Between each benchmark and game, I always give the system a reboot to free up resources. Before I do that, I'll just quickly show you the case inside. And outside, looking at the front, it's got two, strangely enough. One's a CD drive, optical drive, and one's a CD rewriter drive. It's got a 1.4 meg floppy drive. Who remembers those? So I'll move around the side. Now, oddly enough, there's no vents on either side of this system, so I'll just move around the back. Top to bottom, it's got the power supply, and then it's got the usual ports, USB and microphone headphone sockets, and to the right it's got an exhaust fan, and below that is the graphics card. So I'll just open the case up so you can see inside. So looking inside, the cable management is minimal, but it works all right. So that huge green thing is a shroud pulling away hot air from the CPU cooler onto the exhaust fan. It's quite a neat solution, I suppose. At the top is the power supply, and to the right are the optical drives. And moving further down, you can see the graphics card sitting in a PCI 1 slot. So now what I'll do is start the system up and run some benchmarks. So first up in these graphical benchmarks is 3D Mark 2000. So what I'll do is I'll let this run and report back with the performance. Okay, so 3D Mark 2000 has finished. Score of 6504. Now, just a side note, the resolution selected was 1024 by 768. So what I'll do is I'll restart the machine, which is always good practice, and run another benchmark. So up next is the benchmark 3D Mark 2001. So I've selected low detail and the same resolution as per 3D Mark 2000. So what I'll do is I'll let this run and report back. Okay, so 3D Mark 2001 is finished and the final score is 4390. And just as a recap, the resolution is 1024 by 768 and defaults. So what I'll do is I'll run 2002 and report back. So the next benchmark is PC Mark 2002, which runs various system tests. And what I'll do, I'll let all those run because it's quite a lot, and then report back. Now I'm going to run PC Mark 04. I tried to run 02, but that crashed. So I'll select all the defaults and see if we can get through this and report back. Right, so PC Marco 4 ran alright, except the results. The overall score is not applicable or not available. CPU score 3647, memory score 2855, graphics score 825, hard drive score 3561. But it was a good test, I suppose. I think it does a mild stress test on each of the components, but at least it got through okay. So the plan is to restart the machine and run a few games. On to the gaming benchmarks, and first up is the first Far Cry. Very underrated game this is. If you can max it out, then go for it. But on this machine, we've got the lowest resolution and everything else is set to the lowest possible value you can have. So what I'll do is I'll start the game up and report back. So moving indoors, we're getting above 60 according to the Bandicam frame rate counter, which I'll just move the screen so you can see it in the top left. I'm not sure if I need VSync on because, yeah, might need VSync on. Anyway, so moving outside, and this is where the frame rate will go down quite a lot. So it's above 30. Yeah, it's been reduced to sub 30. Now I think the resolution I've got 800 by 600 is not even the lowest, but I'm not sure if that's going to make any difference. So I'll get a few characters moving. I think on this system, as long as you can get above 30, then I suppose it is sort of playable. But once action, because this game there's a lot of action going on. This is even just the opening level, so we're getting above 40. But later on, we start having vehicles and such like. That's when that frame rate will go down a lot. But at the moment, with these settings, it's not looking too bad. I think there's a few patches as well, but whether they affect the performance of the game or improve it, I cannot be sure. So it's a try it and see sort of thing. Okay, so that's Far Cry. So up next is the first F.E.A.R game. There's a few games in this series, but I'm pretty sure the system will only play this one at reasonable frame rates. So we're in the options menu, and I've set the resolution to 1024 by 768, and I've set the minimum computer spec and the minimum graphics spec. And it's got a few advanced options, so switched all those off. And like I keep saying, switch everything off on this sort of system and set a few set the on off flags to off. And it's got a few that I don't really understand at the moment. Actually the resolution's 640 by 480, so it's even more minimal. What you can do then is run a graphical benchmark, so I'll let that run and report back. So the in-game benchmark has finished, and it's getting an average of 80 frames per second, which is more than enough. The maximum minimum, there's quite a gap there, so it may or may not stutter. I don't think you can restrict the frames per second, to be honest. But 90% was above 40, so you can be sure that this system is going to be fine playing this game. So that's the first F.E.A.R game. On to Painkiller. There's also a few games in this series, but I thought I'd try the first one. Again, texture quality in the settings very low, resolution 800 by 600, and on advanced everything has been switched off, all the yes no flags set to off. So work your way up, as I keep saying. So what I'll do is I'll start the game and report back. Right, so I'm in a game, not a bad looking game actually. But as you can probably see, there's a lot of mindless shooting, so if you like that sort of thing. I'm not sure what the later levels are like, but at the moment it's just shoot everything you can see that's moving and try and survive as much as possible. So top right, it's hitting 60 easy. So maybe it might play some of the games later on in the series. So that's Painkiller. On to Quake 4. Now this is an excellent game if you haven't played it. It uses a enhanced version of the Doom 3 engine. And looking at the in-game menu, again set everything to low as you possibly can. And in advanced, everything's off here. And if possible, work your way up. So what I'll do is I'll start the game and report back. So on this opening level, with a few effects but not much action, we get in sort of less than 30 frames per second, which is not ideal. So let's move indoors and see if that improves. So it's touching 30. The few characters moving on screen, but there are moving vehicles and controlling vehicles later on in this game. So whether that frame rate holds up, I cannot be sure. But when there's more than several characters moving on the screen, it doesn't even reach 30. So it's up to you if you want to try it. I mean, with all the effects switched off, it still looks pretty good. So just get rid of that character. See, if there's not much moving, it's even nudging 50. So yeah, just try it out. It's worth a look. It's a great game. So that's Quake 4. On to Serious Sam 2. Now I tried to start Serious Sam and it came up with a core.dll issue. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there. I'll try and fix it anyway. So again, in the menu, everything's off or minimal where possible. Yep, so we'll leave everything as minimal. Just go back, just make sure that resolution is, the resolution can even go down to 720 by 576, 480, 640 by 4, let's try 640 by 480. Because the whole point is to get playable frame rates. So what I'll do is I'll start the game up and report back. Okay, so I've played part of the game. It's holding up quite well actually, with a lot of characters moving on the screen. And considering this is the lowest possible resolution in the game and all the effects are switched off, it's not looking too bad. So possibly it gives some leeway, because it's definitely above 30. Admittedly, there's not many enemies on the screen at the moment, so that rate will possibly go down once things start getting busier. But you know what? Serious Sam 2 is actually quite playable at present. So I probably won't try and get Serious Sam 1 running, because that should perform better than Serious Sam 2. The games later in the series, they always upgrade the graphical engines. So yeah, that's Serious Sam 2. Right, just to recap then, this Dell Dimension 2400 has been benchmarked with 3D Mark and PC Mark. I've also played a few games, and the conclusion is, despite the limitations of that system, especially with the graphics card, you can still load up some of the older games, and some of those first-person shooter games I've tested are quite taxing on the system. So if you've got any questions about this build, just drop me a comment, and thanks for watching.